Welcome, everyone, to episode 12 of the Dual Boot Diaries, the weekly podcast where two longtime Windows users see if they can fully make the switch to Linux. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Patrick Murray.
I'm your other host, Will Smith, and we're not experts at Linux. We're just figuring this out as we go, sharing our experiences, talking through it, and theoretically at the end, when we reach the end of this magical journey that we're both on together, we're going to decide to delete something, whether it's the Windows partition or the Linux partition. You're going to have to stick around to the end to find out.
Yeah, well, this week, I have been traveling. I do have a couple small quick updates here.
You're a rambling man.
Even a little bit of testing. But you have been fixing some self-inflicted problems. You came in yesterday to film the full nerd, and you were like, oh yeah, by the way, I reinstalled Linux on my home desktop.
Yeah. So you want to start with that?
No, I say... Let's
oh well, we have a topic.
Yeah, this is new for us. We're 12 there's 12 episodes in, and even though we don't consider ourselves a news show,
we're not a news show.
Yeah, we're not at all. There is some brand new news that hit yesterday that I think we should go over.
When I said this out loud in the PCWorld studio, right here in the seat that I'm in right now, you were in that seat right there.
Yesterday,
you squeed and went like this.
Yeah, for audio listeners, it twirled around in the chair. I did.
And you went.
Okay, probably not that, but
and you clicked your claws together.
I was very excited because Valve announced new hardware.
Noted Linux aficionados, Valve software.
Valve, hey, you know, listen, SteamOS has paved the way in a lot of ways for what we're doing here.
I would argue, I actually sent an email to somebody yesterday talking about this because somebody asked me for what I thought about the takes privately, and I said in the email, I think that actually Valve has probably done more for desktop Linux than any company in the last 20 years.
Well, like any singular company.
Any single company, except for Microsoft.
True. Yeah. True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, there's new hardware. We're actually not going to get into the details of the hardware too much because we talked about it extensively over on the Full
Nerd. You should
Nerd.
go look at the Full Nerd.
Yeah. If you would like a breakdown, the Full Nerd, Steve or Gamers Nexus did a good hardware breakdown. The
Sean from The Verge
Foundry,
was there.
Sean from The Verge has written up some articles. So we're not going to get into it. But there were three pieces of hardware that was announced, and I think we should talk about the implications for Linux in general and what we're doing here. So the first one is the Steam machine. Now, essentially, this is just a small form factor console-style box that Valve is intending for people to put this in their home theater and
or maybe their desktop.
Games. It's true.
They pitched it as a 4K Steam Deck without a screen and with an optional controller.
Yeah, and they did in their video. There's a launch video over on Steam. You can go play it. They talk about it a little bit there too.
It seems to be running the same Arch variant that the Steam Deck runs.
Yeah, we stopped on a screenshot to zoom in because you were like, "Wait, is that Windows?" And I was like, "Nah, there's no way." And we could tell that the KDE. Like the KDE bar at the bottom, like had that little icon in the bottom left corner.
It has the Steam logo in there, just like the SteamOS desktop does.
So yeah, essentially, this is think of a Steam Deck without the screen.
Yeah,
and then just shoved into a nice box. The hardware does look nice. Once again, we're not going to get too much into it, but it is like a entry level PC kind of system. I'm sure. Well, I mean, the Valve claims it's 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, whatever that means. You know,
that's how many more pixels it's doing.
We'll test it, but yeah, like, I mean, not only should it be able to game well, you should be able to just run it as a normal machine. Like, and especially my first thought when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's kind of like that Framework desktop that I've been messing around with too, another small form factor machine. So I'm excited, and. It's not just the hardware, it's also the software, because I think this also signals, hey, we want even more normies who are used to a console experience to be able to plug this in and just use it. And the Steam Deck is pretty much that for the most part.
Yeah, this is the thing that the Steam Deck does well. We've talked about it a bunch in the show. It's something that a friend of the show, Jeff Grubb over at Giant Bomb, mentioned years ago when the Steam Deck was relatively new. But he's a PC gamer, but is always seems to have been a little bit annoyed by the amount of like system maintenance, and like if you just have a PC to play games with, you're doing a lot of driver installing, a lot of Windows updates, a lot of Steam updates, a lot of game updates, and there's just stuff that you have to constantly work on.
Well, and you need a mouse and keyboard to navigate. I mean, obviously, Microsoft is working on this new Xbox full screen experience kind of thing. Whatever.
We're not talking about that here.
Yeah, I mean, but also it's just like it's half baked. You know, we'll see how that is. But really, like, I'm a weirdo who has a full-fledged Windows PC underneath my TV to play games. But yeah, I have to have a mouse and keyboard. There's no way to just use that PC with a controller. But this, theoretically, you should be able to. And I actually think, we talked about this a little bit yesterday off camera as well. I feel like this is probably going to make a bigger splash than the Steam Deck crowd, because there's a lot of people who like handhelds like me, but there's a lot of people we know, like Brad Shoemaker, has no use for a handheld device. He likes having a console box under a TV kind of thing, just something, to pick up a controller and go. So I think this probably has way bigger mainstream appeal.
I think it all depends on price. And I think my guess is that when they started making this thing, they were thinking it was a completely different price than it's going to end up. And they probably don't even know today what the price is going to be, because who knows what the tariff situation is going to be at the end of the year, or early next year when they announce this.
But the thing is, if this, if this does push the Steam hardware forward, if this pushes PC gaming forward and gets more normies into this kind of stuff, by way of that, they're also getting into Linux. And that's part of what helped us, or at least me, grease those gears of being like, oh, I've used Linux on the Steam Deck, so technically I'm more familiar with it. And so, I think that'll give even more, yes, some people might not even just realize that it's running Linux. They're just thinking, oh, they'll plug it in and it's just running. But I think there's a non-zero sum of people who are like, oh, wow, this is running something other than, I can go to a desktop if I need to.
So the thing about the Steam Deck and Linux is that it's using Linux in the same way that using the head unit on your car is using Linux, right? Because the head unit on your car probably running Linux.
Well, no, because that's single purpose. Can you really go out to a desktop on your head unit?
I was going to continue.
I'm sorry.
But with the Steam Deck, you can go into the desktop and install other things like Lutris or Decky browser plugins, or all these other different pieces of software that extend your Steam Deck experience. And a lot of them you install through the desktop, but then when you come back into the Steam Deck UI, you get them integrated in that experience. So if you want to add your GOG games, your good old games to your Steam interface, you can do that using Lutris, and it'll pull down images and put them in the menu, and there'll be a thing at the end that says non-Steam games. And then all of your GOG games are in there. And that's that kind of stuff is, I think, a good entry point for people who are kind of a little bit more curious and want to go one step further than, oh, hey, I have a console thing that plays PC games now, which is I think a really good starting point. And
I mean, anytime I talk with somebody who's less confident about PC gaming or building a PC, things like that, that is one of the biggest things of configuration.
Yeah.
With a console, yes, I guess there's more games now more than ever that have different modes. Do you want best performance? Do you want best quality? That kind of stuff.
Nope, you just want the Steam Deck mode.
Yeah, so there is still some configuration to do, but I think at the end of the day, for most people, they just want to be able to play a game and have it run well. Steam or Valve has shown with the Steam Deck that, hey, they have their program. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time that verified program works. Here, there's some question marks about how they're going to implement it on that end. It is just using AMD hardware, so it should be an extension of what the Steam Deck runs. But the biggest, apart from the hardware and the price and that kind of stuff, which once again we talked about in the Full Nerd, I think the other biggest factor is there are going to be people who are like, oh, I just want to play my Call of Duties and my Battlefields on this machine, and they go to hook it up, download it from Steam, and whoops, it doesn't work. So anti-cheat, do you think they can push enough momentum to get anti-cheat being the last problem in Steam gaming?
I think it depends on how many of these they sell, right? If you're looking at suddenly 20 million SteamOS compatible devices between the ones that Valve makes and the ones that Lenovo and their other as yet unannounced third-party partners in the handheld space are going to sell, then all of a sudden you have a real ecosystem there, right? If you're looking at 4 or 5, if this sells to a subset of existing Steam Deck users, then no, it's a pretty big fail. And I think, unfortunately, it all boils down to price, which is a difficult situation right now. And who knows with what's going on with the RAM stuff and the SSDs and tariffs, it is an absolute wild card what this thing is going to cost. So anyway.
Yeah, so it's interesting, but that is my hope, is that it does get even more people from the console side. It gives a easier way to do PC gaming on the TV. can fix hopefully maybe some of this anti-cheat stuff that is really probably the last major downfall for SteamOS,
anti-cheat,
right?
de novo anti-piracy, which a lot of big AAA games put on their like day one releases and then take off after like the third patch or something. And those are the two main ones. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so there's that. They did announce the controller. Completely, works with SteamOS. Probably is going to work really well with Windows. I don't think there's too much to talk about here. It just looks like an extension of
it
Steam
just uses
input
the Steam controller. Like the thing that's happened is that X input is still the default for every game, pretty much. That's the thing that Microsoft shipped 15 years ago with the 360. It basically tells your game, here's the inputs, here's the inputs that your controller has, here's what they should map to by default, and the game does that. Steam controller is an API that lives kind of on top of that, and it will let, for games that don't support the Steam input API, it will just mimic X input output for whatever controller you put in. So if you plug say a Nintendo Switch Pro controller into your PC, it'll say, okay, this is a Switch Pro controller. I know what these buttons are, and it will map those buttons back to the X input buttons that most games support. Now,
and custom mapping, community.
I was going to say the neat thing that they do when you use an actual Steam controller with that, like the Steam Deck or the new Steam controller or the old Steam controller, or there's actually a couple of there's a handful of Steam controller API compatible controllers from folks like 8BitDo and stuff like that.
Hori, yeah.
Hori. Is that you get access to more stuff. You get access to like controlling stick profiles and acceleration, and if it has pads, you can control how the pads, how reaching the edge of the pads works. Whether it's like a swipe kind of trackball metaphor, or whether it has acceleration like a stick, and there's all sorts of stuff you can do that's really neat. And then the other thing is the community shared profiles. So developers can build profiles for their games. People can take those profiles and adjust them. You can download other people's profiles. You can share your profile, all that kind of stuff. And ultimately, like if you're a person who grew up playing Splatoon and you like to play games with gyro controls, which is weird and foreign and scary to me as an old guy, you can build a profile that lets you do that inside inside the Steam controller UI. And then share it with other people who want their Splatoon style gyro controls in their non-gyro enabled first person shooter in a lot of cases.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and the last piece of hardware that they talked about was a VR headset.
Yeah.
Called the Steam Frame.
Yeah, this is
what they're calling it.
Probably codenamed Deckard is what our understanding is beforehand. But
and like this has some implications that they talked about briefly, but you think this is something that can expand out like further and has like large ramifications beyond just the headset. So maybe get into that.
Yeah, so the gist of it is that it's a standalone PC VR headset. It'll run your existing Steam VR games. It'll run stuff that's ported from, let's say, the Oculus store from the Quest store, stuff like that. It will also let you stream from the PC using a built-in, like they provide you a Wi-Fi 6G dongle.
I think it's Wi-Fi Direct or something. Or it's proprietary.
No. It's they use a different spectrum and it's higher bit rate.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
It's a USB 2 device, so it's like 250 megabit per second capped performance. For the video encode, and they do all sorts of tricks so that bit rate works well with the latency and all that. That part kind of doesn't matter. The interesting thing about it is that it's not x86, so it's not using an APU like the Steam Deck. It's not using an x86 processor at all. It's using a Snapdragon processor from Qualcomm, which is
kind
ARM.
And it's kind of weird because they went AMD with the Steam Deck. They went AMD with the Steam Machine for both the whole package, CPU and GPU. But then they're like, oh yeah, this is Qualcomm. This is ARM.
Well, so
why do you think they made that decision?
It seems like their strategy for the Steam Deck and the Steam Machine is to buy, not bargain price, but let's say CPUs and APUs they can get deals on. So like
they called it semi-custom, which probably means more like it's off-the-shelf parts that have been binned or clocked down or configured in a specific way,
or they have like a weird memory interface or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is ARM. My assumption is that in order to get the kind of performance to battery to power draw that they wanted, they would have had to buy much more expensive APUs from AMD and maybe even stuff that's not really available yet. Like if you look at like the Ryzen AI stuff that just came out last year, the year before, that's where you're getting into the kind of performance per watt that they're going to want. And that would make this a $2,000 headset instead of under $1,000, which I think the price they quoted people.
Okay. But yeah,
or less than the index is what they said.
So the ARM stuff is interesting. And we've actually gotten a couple questions before. I'm going to bring this one. It's not tied to this announcement, but it's kind of in the same realm. Ghostly Pie asked, I don't know if this is podcast content, but if you enjoy the Linux stuff on x86, would you all consider running Linux on Snapdragon X Elite or even Apple Silicon? And I think that is a question. I mean, have you tried Linux on ARM?
Because I run a Raspberry Pi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, is Linux on ARM considered good?
It's fine. The problem is that you end up with stuff that's not compiled for it. It's less of a problem these days because of the rise of Raspberry Pis and ARM laptops, and honestly, the Mac Minis and the M1 MacBook Airs that are selling for like $600 now has opened the door.
ARM-based.
All ARM-based, have opened the door for a lot of stuff. I think for me, this is interesting because on this headset, on this frame headset, they're running x86 code that was written for Windows in Linux on ARM. So they're doing 2 translation layers there.
It seems like a bad idea.
Which is kind of crazy. Now, the thing that we've learned is that their strategy with Proton has been, and I would love to talk to somebody from Valve. I actually reached out to see if we can get an interview going about this, either here on the Tech Pod.
Yes.
But their approach for Proton has very much been, we're going to go down the list of games on Steam and we're going to try them with Proton. And then as we find edge cases, stuff that's not emulated properly, we're going to fix that. And then the downstream effect of that is that all of the other games that have that same problem are going to be fixed from the one fix that you implement for fixing game 1. You'll also fix games 3,000 through 3,500 on the list of games to support. And they've been working this for like 10 years now.
And this is at the wrapper level, so it doesn't need any developer.
This is on Valve's level. Valve is doing this. 350 people at Valve, and they're doing this for the entire PC games library. Now, my assumption is they go from they benefit of being Valve is they know what games people are playing, and they start at the games people play the most and work their way down to eventually they'll get to like some weird hentai game that like 3 people have ever played, right?
Well, but the tree, as you kind of described, if they pick or if one of the biggest games has an issue, it probably helps fix the same issue.
A bazillion other games that they'll never even know had that issue.
So, like, what is the ramification of this? How are we going to see this change?
Well, the ramification is that in the old wine days, people looked at this as an impossible task, right? This was like, they were like, oh, yeah, you want us to build a wall by carrying up 50 billion grains of sand, right? And Valve was like, well, we have time and we have people and we have money. We can let's carry some sand. And then it turns out when they picked up one piece of sand and put it in place, it also brought with it 3,000 others. They're bringing the same approach to FEX, which is the ARM translation layer. It sounds like, and they're looking at which instructions are emulated properly and which ones aren't, and going through one at a time and fixing them, and then seeing downstream that's fixing some other stuff. So. I'm really interested to see how it works in practice. One of the big benefits is that a lot of the VR software is made for what is, quite frankly, at this point, really ancient hardware or mobile hardware. So, the original VR spec was a 6700, I think, and a Intel 6th generation CPU and a 9700 or 970. A GeForce 970 before the 10 series even, like a 10-year-old GPU at this point. And that's what most of the VR software through 2020 was really targeting. When Alex came out, we saw some higher level specs and higher level system requirements. But by the time they got to that point, the Quest was starting to take off, so people were building their games again for more modest hardware. They were building it for ARM mobile GPUs.
Mobile stuff.
And so you have a lot of games that don't have a ton of dynamic lights, and they don't use fancy stuff like ray tracing or anything that's going to really hit a modern CPU. So there's probably overhead for especially a lot of those old legacy titles.
Well, I mean, luckily the Snapdragon processor in this, it's not the highest end that they offer today, but it still is
very capable.
Leagues better than 5 years ago for sure. So even ray tracing, I've seen some ray tracing testing. It's like, oh, these mobile CPUs can do actual ray tracing calculations.
But they're not going to do it because the games that exist in the market right now don't do that.
True.
Right?
So I just mean the chip is more than capable.
Yeah.
And even though it's probably going to have to take a little bit of overhead performance-wise to have this translation stuff, it should be able
It's
to
probably
absorb it
fine.
Yeah.
I would look. They're not going to announce it. They're not going to sell it if it's not fine. Because the downside of not being performant in VR is that people throw up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So you can do the smooth 26 on the Steam Deck. If you do a smooth 70 on the what's it called? The Flex, the face
Frame.
on the frame. Welcome to Chunder City. Nobody wants that.
Okay. I don't remember, or I didn't see. Is this just running SteamOS, or is this running a fork of SteamOS?
I mean, I assume it's running SteamOS for ARM, which is a fork of SteamOS, probably.
Could you put this on your? Could you put this on your head and shell out to the desktop?
Yeah. So they absolutely showed.
Really?
Like the 4 modes of play were VR running locally, VR streamed from the PC, flat games running locally. So like they were playing Hades 2 in the headset, translated from ARM to, or maybe it was Hades 1, but they were playing a flat 2D game you play on a monitor on like the big theater display in the headset. And then they also did streamed flat games from like another PC or Steam machine or something somewhere else in your house.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because the Apple headset, they're like, oh yeah, you'll put this on for 8 hours and do your work. You got all these desktops and you can video edit. The resolution is so high you can video edit, all that kind of stuff.
Having had a job where I had to wear a headset for 8 hours a day sometimes, no one is ever going to wear a headset for 8 hours a day unless they're absolutely being forced to.
Yeah, I'm just I'm curious about it. But also this opens the door if they can crack that ARM nut.
Yeah,
this is probably Qualcomm's like saving grace, right? Like that was their problem last year. They were like, oh yeah, don't worry for the launch of the X Elite series. Like, we tested 1,200.
They tested 1,200 games. 15 of them were good.
So then it's like gaming on ARM, even on the Windows side, has been hairy. I mean, so maybe it takes Valve to come in and fix that.
I think low key Valve has built there are 2 companies that are really good at this. Apple has done it, has changed architectures like 3 or 4 times in the last 20 years now. Valve, or 25 years, Valve has developed some really, really strong expertise at building translation layers for OS to OS and seemingly architecture. All that remains to be seen.
That's crazy. Well, and then, I mean, they didn't announce anything down this, but it's like, man, could you theoretically see them having like a Steam phone?
Well, so
does this open up like other ARM devices or like the Retroid Pocket series has switched over to ARM-based processors? Could we see a Retroid Pocket that just runs SteamOS?
Well, so part of the announcement, we didn't talk about it yesterday at all, is that they're going to allow APKs in Steam, and presumably that'll also go the other way, where they'll have a Steam store on Android devices where you can just play your PC games at one level or another inside. Obviously, your Black Myth Wukong probably not going to run great on your phone, but there are games that will run fantastic on your phone.
Crazy. So
we're like, we've been at a point for a long time where like if all you use your computer for is web browsing, it kind of doesn't matter in a lot of ways what you buy. Like there's very little difference between a $300 Chromebook and a $2,000 desktop replacement laptop. And I think we're about to see that same kind of transition happen for game stuff.
Dang. Wow.
It's a wild time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we were at the Intel event a couple weeks ago, we talked to a lot of cool people that were into Linux stuff. And like, I can't remember who we were having the conversation with, but they were like, like the problem with Linux is that there's no one central figure, right? There's no Steve Jobs equivalent or somebody to carry the torch and like bring the whole Linux thing to the mainstream. Could it just be Valve? Like, is this like...
I mean,
right? I mean, I really think they are paving the way in so many different ways. Is Valve secretly like the Steve Jobs of Linux?
Kind of the nice thing about Linux is you don't need a Steve Jobs. You just need people like. It's not that they're figureheading. It's that they're actually putting their money where their mouth is, and they're devoting a lot of resources to it. Right? They have a big team of engineers making that software good. They had a big team of engineers working on AMD drivers, the AMD open source drivers, because they needed them to be better for the Steam Deck to work. And like that's how you enact change. It's not Intel laying off half of their Linux team or a bunch of people who maintain big Linux projects. It's continued commitment to building software that runs on Linux, and that's how this works.
It's just interesting because the closest analogy I can think of is like in the Linux space would be like Canonical, right? Like they're the biggest company. Over 1,000 people.
There's a lot of people there.
Like there's a lot of people working on there doing a
Red
lot
Hat's
of stuff.
Also big. The big enterprise Linux folks are large.
But it feels like they are focusing more on enterprise. Right.
Of course,
which makes sense
because enterprise will pay service contracts for their OSs, and
Valve is not focusing on that at all. They're focusing on consumers. Hey, what makes sense for consumers?
And they're driving consumer. They're building consumer products, unlike router manufacturers and head units for cars and smart refrigerators and home assistant like smart home accessories, which are all kind of invisible Linux applications. They're making a consumer-facing Linux desktop OS that runs on a wide variety of hardware and is easy enough that most people don't even have to know it's Linux unless they decide they want to dig in deeper. And that's really cool.
And they're controlling both the software and the hardware experience.
Well, this is the thing I said yesterday. Yeah. Is like I love the idea. Apple is able to do things because they make both the hardware and software that's really, really cool. Yeah, and sometimes it's really goofy stuff that has a high impact on people who use the hardware, like the seamless switching of AirPods between Apple TV and phone and tablet and Mac is an incredible feature if you're walking around with headphones in all day and you move back and forth between a few devices. But like Microsoft can't do that because they don't make headphones and they don't make the hardware, so they don't know that the Bluetooth stack's going to be right in every single Windows laptop sold. So like they don't know that they're going to have enough radio capacity to do that seamless handoff, right? Whereas Valve is doing the same thing that Apple does. They're building the hardware and the software. But they're also, instead of saying, hey, this software is completely locked down, you can't do anything with it, we don't want you to, they're like, hey, man, here's the code. If you want to fork this and make your own version, go nuts.
Because it's all open source.
It's open source. They don't have a choice.
Well, and that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, they're doing this as a business to sell more games on Steam.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Who knows? Maybe some engineers feel good about it. But at the end of the day, it is a company.
I think they want to destroy Microsoft, frankly. I don't think it's out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah.
I think it's pure spite.
So it's just interesting. They're in such a weird spot. And I can't think of another analogy. Maybe somebody else has been in the Linux space can see a better analogy. But yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
Look, if nothing else, Proton and the work that Steam does to make it easy to play games on Linux has opened up Linux as a real OS alternative for a huge number of people that were locked off before and may actually be like the kind of people like you and me who are interested in futzing around with the new OS but didn't want to be hassled because it's a pain in the butt to reboot to play games.
Yeah.
And here we are.
So, yeah, we just felt like that news was enough to talk about it here.
I think
we're excited. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the ARM emulation thing, ultimately, my hope is that opens the door for things like inexpensive ARM-based streaming boxes you can plug into your TV, so you don't have to have a whole big PC there if you don't want to, stuff like that.
Yeah, essentially like a newer version of the Steam Link.
Yeah.
Right? Like
a Steam Link, but good. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's interesting. Interesting stuff.
Good indeed. Times.
Yeah.
Okay. So should we do the podcast now?
Well, yeah. Let's go to the normal stuff.
Okay. You want to go first?
I can go first because it's pretty light.
Yeah. You were traveling last week.
I was traveling. I think I said this last week. I was at a funeral, and one of my tasks was to make a video that was going to play at the funeral. I used my laptop. I plugged it into they just had a TV and. They were like, okay, do what you want on this TV. So I plugged in my laptop. I had to make sure it didn't go to sleep.
You put the hot dog sketch on from I Think You Should Leave?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
It's probably best.
Everything worked good.
That's good.
Yeah. So I didn't have it auto loop on the built-in video player. So like it restarted and just stopped on the first frame. So and I didn't notice it. And at some point somebody went over and tried to futz with the laptop to like get it to play again or to loop, and that like I could see them just being like, and I had to run over and be like, it's Linux. You don't know how to use this.
Yeah, it's a Linux thing you wouldn't understand.
I was waiting for them to be like, why is your computer weird?
They didn't. my daughter came in and tried to use my computer the other day.
Okay.
And she was like, "What have you done to this?" And I was like, "Well, mouse sensitivity's up." And she's like, "No, not that. Your mouse sensitivity's always bad, Dad." I'm gonna give her my laptop and tell her to use it for a day sometime soon.
So, I mean, number one, I wasn't really on my computer that much during my travels.
Family time.
But I did bring this laptop. I did bring both.
This with laptop, meaning the 13-inch framework.
30-inch framework, which is running Fedora. I did bring your
floor keys.
And my install drive that has Windows. I only had to swap it out once actually because I did do a little bit of work when I was first there. I had to get into Photoshop. But other than that, I did do in the course of the past 2 or 3 weeks, I've had a Framework 16 in to do testing for the new GeForce RTX 5070 laptop graphics module.
So the 16 has a big kind of, it kind of hangs off the back. It's like a module that hangs off the back. And you can swap the GPU out on it, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, oh, bless you. You can actually buy it without a GPU. So, like, it comes with just a shell by default. Bless you.
Sorry.
You can get a expansion to add a couple more SSDs into it.
Okay.
Or you can buy the Radeon RX 7700S expansion module to put in the back of it. A lot of people liked that. You know, I mean, it's like a mid-range Radeon laptop part. It's fine. But a lot of people were, number one, clamoring for something more powerful. Number two, clamoring for an NVIDIA option.
Yeah.
So this is the very first time Framework has introduced a NVIDIA option into their whole stack. They've been pretty much AMD for, well, no, not pretty much. They've been all AMD for all of the devices that they've put out. So they sent me not only the Framework 16 with some extra trays and keyboard top stuff, which you can also swap out. They sent me the 5070 laptop part. They sent me the RX 7700S, and they did send me the M.2 expansion thing. I didn't really use that. Really, I wanted to see what it was like having the two graphics modules, swapping them out, what that experience was like, because I actually haven't touched a Framework 16 before this, or I guess technically before we went to the Framework offices for the interview. So I have a video over on PCWorld's YouTube channel. If you go subscribe over on PCWorld, you can go see it. I'm not going to get deep into the testing over there. Essentially, the hardware is good. It's a Framework device. So, like, I think that people are understanding that means that while the hardware is not the most polished experience, like this Dell XPS 13 you have in front of you, the trade-off is that you get to upgrade, repair, all the modular pieces in the laptop, and it still is a good laptop.
Does it have physical F keys?
Physical F keys?
Yeah, like
an F.
Like are there F1 through
function.
F12
yes.
function keys?
Yeah. A full function row.
Yeah, I don't have those. I have a stupid touch bar up there.
Yeah, well,
it's bad.
So, like, the hardware itself, like, is good, but it's an experience, with some trade-offs. The software side of it, once again, I did some testing, not a ton, but I was able to actually install Fedora 42, which is an officially supported distro for Framework 16, and do some testing over there. So we talked about this a little bit last week, where I'm curious about Linux testing.
Yeah.
Partially, I brought that up last week because I was in the middle of testing.
Weird.
This Framework 16.
Whoops.
Embargoes. And so I guess without going into the details of that specific testing, this was the first time where I actually did some comparison on similar hardware between Linux and Windows.
Okay.
So I tested both the 5070 laptop and the 7700S in both Windows and Fedora. Got some weird results here and there, like when I was doing the Geekbench, which is a synthetic benchmark. On the GPU test, when I ran it under Vulkan, the Framework 13 and the Framework 16 with the RTX 5070 turned in a better score in Fedora. Not a ton, but a little bit.
Like a few points.
Yeah, but for some reason, the 7700S specifically was slower.
Could be driver issues there.
Yeah. Well, and so, like, really that's one of the bigger things for me is that, for the most part, most of the numbers bore out that things like responsiveness or Vulkan compatibility, things like that just ran better in Fedora, like in the testing suite that I had. And it was kind of cool to see what a lot of people have talked about of like, oh, wow, this is really this is a better experience with hardware. It's a lighter experience, or maybe that's a better word.
Fedora 42 is the current. It's the current mainline. There, 43 just was released the other day.
Yeah, 43 is brand new, which I do have on this framework 13, but 42 is like officially supported for the framework 16.
Okay.
I did try to load 43 on the framework 16, and I could not get it to boot into the live.
Weird.
So for the most part, when I'm testing, I want to stick with the defaults.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then maybe do some follow-up testing later. If anyone's interested, let me know. But yeah, I think just from an experiential kind of thing, now that I've tried it once, it was really weird to not have control over certain things. Usually when I'm doing testing of hardware, whether it's on the desktop or in a laptop, it's like, okay, I know exactly which version of the OS I have installed. I know exactly which driver, which a lot of times they send pre-release drivers.
Yeah.
I know, like you got to control these variables so that you can do a fair one-to-one comparison. When I got into Linux, I was like, well, I know what, I know what OS version is in, sure, and I know what driver that is built into the kernel, but you have a driver package, right? So yeah. So but for me, like it wasn't analogous. It wasn't the same way in Windows.
It's not quite as easy. It's not quite as straightforward. And also the driver updates on the Linux side are usually more infrequent than they are on the Windows side.
And they're built into the kernel sometimes.
Well, no, you can
right?
download the package, and then it gets kind of like some magic happens, and then the driver's there. I don't know how that works exactly. I haven't had to deal with that personally.
Well, and that was the weird thing is that I've been taught to know exact.
Yeah.
Controlled every step of the process, so it's a fair comparison. And here, I was just like, man, I'm gonna run some numbers. I couched it even in the video of being like, hey, this is early on in any Linux testing, but like when I got that lower number for Geekbench, which I was not expecting and didn't show up in the other forms of testing that I did, I was like, I don't even know where to begin with this one. I don't even know, like I can't reinstall the driver, can I?
Did you manually install the NVIDIA drivers when you switched the card out?
Well, but this was for the Radeon.
Well, okay. So did you manually install the other driver when you swapped the cards?
No, I updated the DNF package, and it did pop up to say, hey, there's a AMD driver package, or I'm sorry, NVIDIA driver package, and then it had me do the thing where I write down the mock code, MOK or whatever for the secure boot. Yeah. So did you have to? So yes, it did detect the NVIDIA. But did you get rid of the AMD drivers? Did you remove the orphaned AMD drivers? I don't even know how to do that. There you go. Well, because on Windows I know how to DDU. Yeah. You just use your package manager. Yeah. Well, but it's like -R. But I actually tested the RX. Before I tested the RTX. Well, that's what I'm saying is you'd switch the drivers and then uninstall the RX from your package manager. Well, but the low numbers was on the AMD side before I tested the NVIDIA side. Well, then it's so yeah, that's why I was just like I was like, I don't even know how to troubleshoot it. This is the thing we talked about with Steve on Full Nerd the other day. Is it's hard to figure out what apples to apples is, because is it that you're only going to test games, for example, that have Linux versions, or are you going to test Windows games running on Proton and Linux versus Windows games running natively on Windows? Is that fair? Like what if you're in a game that doesn't have frame gen support on Linux but does on Windows, like do you just test defaults? What's the process for this? Well, and then after I talked about this last week, a lot of people in the comments mentioned that you can get OpenCL working. Mm-hmm. You just have to download, or you have to go to the terminal and install a specific package to get it to run on the Geekbench thing. I didn't do that for this one, and unfortunately, I filmed that video actually before the Dual Boot Diaries came out last week. So I wasn't able to get the OpenCL testing, but I was like, oh, okay, well, that's another thing I need to remember for that my testing checklist. But it was interesting. It's fun. Yeah. And I really am curious to see what people think of any sort of testing like that. So I've been doing some Linux benchmarking too, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. I have a couple quick things, just usability things. every time I've been seeing somebody open up an Arch terminal, I don't have open up terminal.
You don't have Alacrity on here?
Well, right now I open up the terminal and it's just nothing.
Yeah, I got my cool little Cachy logo.
Yeah, it shows the Cachy logo. This is
because I'm running Fish. Are you running Bash?
Well, but I'm running Bash, but yeah, so it's showing all this information.
Yeah, type Fish in there.
No,
you don't have Fish.
But I found out because I was Googling, I was like, man, I really like when you open the terminal, you get this like big readout of your stuff. So I found out that actually you can get a thing called fast fetch. So essentially fast fetch. And then I found an article, which I need to go through.
I had that too. That's what does that.
Okay. Yeah. So I found an article from Make Use of, a fine, I think this is a future property maybe, or Mobile Nations, I don't know. It says how to customize your Linux terminals. Splash screen.
You're getting ready to go in that .config folder, aren't you?
Yeah, because I was like, I want to be able to have that fast fetch thing pop up.
Who doesn't?
So I think there is a way to do it. I haven't done it, but I was like, oh, okay, cool.
That's probably or do you use Alacrity or are you using a different terminal?
It's the one built into Fedora. How do I...
Yeah. Well, hit your start button, your super button.
It just says terminal.
Okay, yeah. So install Alacrity, and it'll probably just do it for you.
No, I like the built-in terminal.
Well, I mean,
anyway,
some people like plain vanilla sweet cream ice cream, Adam.
Yeah. I like that.
Get that
vanilla bean.
Yeah,
vanilla bean was the thing.
You don't want those little black dots in there. You just want the white kind of yellowy,
I like the little
beige ice cream. Give it to me.
And I don't remember why. Oh, the Framework 16, because I wanted to get Fedora on that. I didn't have Fedora 42 on my stick, on my Ventoy stick, so I put Fedora 42 on there. And I ran into that issue again where I couldn't boot off of that Ventoy drive.
Hey, dog, I think that stick's bad.
No. So the thing is, somebody was telling me that, because I am used to on Windows, where I don't eject drives. I just yank it out.
Oh, my God.
And so I think what's been happening on Linux.
You just yanking your drives out, man? What the heck?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Dude, just rolling fast, man. Fast and loose. You just yank the drive and not worry about it.
And you're like, oh, I'm too scared to use a rolling distro. Let me just not safely eject my USB storage
on
devices.
Windows, it's never been a problem.
Oh, my God.
On Linux, I did, and I don't remember where I saw people talking about this, but a lot of people were like, hey, you need to hit the eject button and make sure that it gives you the signal to unmount the device, or you'll have problems. So I think that's why I've been having problem with my Ventoy.
So what it's seeing is your drive is corrupted and needs to be checked. It's like, I shouldn't boot off this drive. This is a dangerous drive.
So
wow.
Just a small little thing I want to mention.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Also, for the first time, when was it? Oh, when I was installing the graphics module for the Framework 16, this is the first time I ever didn't turn off Secure Boot. I had installed Windows with Secure Boot on, and then I went to go plug in my Ventoy drive to install Fedora, and of course...
You enrolled the mock?
It says no, and usually at that point I'm like, okay, we'll go into the UEFI and turn off Secure Boot. That's how I've been doing it for all of these times.
Yeah.
And essentially just running with Secure Boot off. But for the first time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to enroll the mock.
So you're Secure Booting over there?
I haven't done it on this one yet, but for the framework, I enrolled it, and it was so easy. Why didn't I do this before?
Because you have to do the kernel hooks that sign the kernel every time you download a new kernel. Did you do that part automatically?
No, I was trying to get into the Ventoy. I was trying to get into the Ventoy. So that was the first step. You had to enroll the Ventoy drive.
I wonder if Fedora does the Secure Boot util automatically.
Ubuntu does.
It does. Okay.
Yeah, Fedora. But either way, I was like, okay, I'm proud of myself. I was able to do that. Now I'm running Secure Boot. And then the last thing. I've watched a couple recent YouTube videos that have talked about something that I haven't heard about before called local send. Have you heard about this?
No, I believe in a full send, but not a local send.
So essentially it's an AirDrop equivalent that's open source, and you can put it on your phone, laptop, whatever. And I don't know what protocols it uses, like how secure it is, things like that. But I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and I kind of want to try it out for just quickly.
Do you want to local send me something?
Yeah, exactly.
You're inviting me?
Yeah, so we should try that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious if you've used it, let us know. I'm curious how secure
put that in
it
your
is.
Homework. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah. So that's all I have.
Okay.
What about you? Listen. I really want to know why you reinstalled Linux on your desktop.
So I went through a voyage of discovery last week. We talked last week about me testing out MicroStutter on Linux games because I'm getting to a point where I was interested in seeing if I could replicate the process that I have for Windows, using tools on Linux to get either Linux microstutter numbers that are meaningful and intelligible, or even better, be able to compare Windows and Linux microstutter for the same games and benchmarks.
Yeah.
Seems fun. I'm not quite there yet, but we're getting close.
Okay.
We're closer every day.
So you broke something.
No, I didn't.
Oh, no, you
I didn't. I chose. I made a choice.
So always be reinstalling.
So
just like Adam.
If you flash back 5 weeks in the past when I installed Windows on the desktop, I thought, I'm going to make a home folder. And I'm going to make I'm going to separate these out, and my home folder is going to be X size, and my root folder is going to be Y size.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't realize that what happens when you do that is that Steam puts all of the crap that it needs to make Windows games run in Linux, which is substantial, in the root folder, not in the home folder.
So you had different, like it was broken
So
up
I had
per
a 50 gig
partition.
home folder, a root folder, and like a 300 gig home folder.
Oh, and the
root folder filled up immediately.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
there's no way to fix that after install.
There is, but
it's easier to.
Well, we also talked last week about me wanting to put Neri on the desktop to see how it works with multiple monitors. And the thing I've learned and have been informed many times by people in the chat, when you want to change desktop environments, the best thing to do is just copy your home folder and then reinstall, because you'll have weird things that aren't quite right as a result.
Okay.
I've lived this life. I've been there. I understand. When I went from GNOME or KDE to GNOME, not great. So I did a bunch of work before that, though. The thing that brought this to a head was I was testing a bunch of different games for the microstutter using a tool called Mango HUD. And this is something that I found our friend Wendell recommended from Level 1 Techs as a way to get process manager, Procmon? Procmon?
PresentMon.
PresentMon style frame time numbers on a per frame basis from games in Linux. And I got that all set up. I ran it.
Like that's real quick, that for people who don't know, that's to be able to display any sort of overlay. Like anytime you're using an overlay, it's usually pulling some sort of numbers for performance numbers.
Yeah. So what this does is it gives you a time it takes to render each frame that the game generates. And if you think about it,
and shows it visually.
The time it takes to render a frame can be inverted and multiplied by 60 or divided by 60. I gotta do the math to see, but you can basically convert time it takes to render a frame into average frames per second if you do it across enough frames.
Okay.
I got all that working. I still have some questions about what Mango HUD is actually recording, because PresentMon and FrameView, NVIDIA's fork of PresentMon, basically give you 3 frames. They get 3 frame times. They give you the out of the video card frame time to display on, like, actual displayed on the screen. And then also they have a separate number that includes AI generated frames if you're using frame generation. And the Mango HUD, I think, is just giving you the time to display one, but I have to kind of
that they match.
I actually might end up reaching out to the person who writes Mango HUD, because it's not really documented anywhere that I can tell.
Mango HUD is open source.
Mango HUD is an open source Linux program that you run. Basically, what it does is give you a little thing. It's, you know what? If you've ever turned on the stats in the Steam Deck, the stats overlay in the Steam Deck, the new one, it's Mango HUD.
Nice. Okay.
So anyway, I did that, got it all working, and then ran out of space on my root drive, which has some real downstream consequences.
Whoops.
And was like, okay, well, I got to fix this. And then I spent like 2 hours trying to figure out how to make the root bigger and the home folder smaller. And I did all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I wanted to put Neri on this anyway. Copied the home folder over to my my 2-lane SSD.
And nuke it from orbit. It's the only way to
nuke it from orbit.
Yeah.
And
way to be sure.
At the same time, I shrunk one of I shrunk my D drive by half.
What's on your D drive?
It's just like it's like video edits and stuff.
Okay.
It's, not anything super important.
Okay.
I shrunk it by half, and then I made that my home folder on the reinstall. So
wait, so your home folder is not on the same drive as your root folder?
Doesn't have to be. It can be wherever you want. You can put it in space if you want, if you have that technology. So okay, we can talk about that too, because I messed that up at first, and then I unmessed it up. And I did the install. I had the home folder in a sub volume on the same chunk of drive, because that's the way the Cachy installer does it easiest by default. I tried to do it manually. It was not having it. I just did the automatic thing. It's like, I can fix this in post. Okay.
I can fix this.
Yeah. So I boot into Cachy. Everything's great. It's a little smaller than I wanted, but I'm like, okay, what I'm gonna do. There's a guide for how to do this on Ubuntu. Didn't have anything to do with subvolumes on ButterFS, which did complicate things somewhat. But I was able to make a new home folder on the shrunken D drive.
Okay.
NVMe2 for those keeping score at home. And then what I did was I copied everything from my home folder into the new home folder partition. And then I unmounted the subvolume and put the new one in the FS tab and rebooted. And it didn't work at all.
Whoops.
And what I'd done was instead of putting the home/will folder, instead of putting the /will folder in my username in the home folder, I just copied the contents of /home/will into the new home folder. So there was no /will folder when it rebooted.
Oh.
But all the data was there. It was just in the wrong place. It took me a little while to kind of suss this out. The bad thing about this.
Real quick,
yeah.
how did that show up? Were you able to get to a login screen?
So I booted in. It was just naked Neri with no configuration or no Noctalia, none of the other stuff. It
didn't look like any of your
didn't
files
have any of my
were
stuff
there.
installed.
Okay.
There was nothing in the folder. I was like, this is really weird. Where's my .config folders?
Okay. Interesting.
And also Neri is really weird with no config file. So once I figured out what was happening, I booted off a thumb drive, copied everything into the right places, rebooted, and it was cool. But it was interesting. I had to learn a little bit how the ButterFS subvolumes worked and how to get rid of that home subvolume that was built into the main partition where everything was installed to start. And then I also had to figure out how to do permissions and stuff like that on the new home folder. I just basically ch owned everything in that path.
Because it's on a separate drive?
Because the OS didn't set that stuff up when the files were there, I had to do a little bit of and because I copied in some stuff from my old install, I had to take ownership of the files from the old machine because they have different IDs and stuff like that.
Okay.
It ended up working out okay. It was like a 20-minute interlude where I was like, oh my God, I've completely hosed this and I got to do this all over again. Now, let's see. So that's that. The Neri setup with multiple monitors was
thumbs up, thumbs down.
Once I got it going, it's been great.
Wow. Okay.
You have to configure the layout with a text file, Adam.
But is it a different text file for each monitor, or
no?
Is it the
it's
same
all
text
in
file?
that big config.kdl file.
Woo.
It's a big giant config file, and you have to run Neri message outputs. I think Neri space MSG space outputs, which basically sends a command to Neri to say, "Hey, what outputs are connected?" And by default, it just puts them all in a line, all in a row.
Okay.
But the weird thing is, if you do scaling on the monitor, so like I have a 4K monitor and I scale it to 1.5, so it's effectively 2560 by 1440 pixels. That's the size that matters.
Okay.
And that part took me a long time to figure out because I was trying to do like 3840, and Neri kept being like, "Yo, your panels aren't touching. We're just going to line them all up in a row again." Because I have a monitor up top, I have a monitor
They're
below,
stacked. Okay.
and then I sometimes have the stream machine hooked up as a third monitor to send video from whatever game I'm playing or whatever to the third display. So I eventually figured that out. The config file, once I figured out that it was the virtual pixels and that negative was left of positive, basically. So basically you set one window as 0 at 0, 0, and that's the top left corner.
Okay.
And then you count the number of pixels to the right that you want the next monitor, or the number of pixels up that you want the next monitor, and then you do negative is up and negative is left, depending on whether you're on the X or the Y axis.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it was a little bit rough.
Yeah.
But I got there. It was
Okay.
working. I went through and did the thing where I set named spaces on each of the displays. So like my chat display is the top is like Discord and Slack and Signal and all the kind of chat programs, as well as stuff like OBS or like the Twitch control panel, stuff like that, that I want to have always available on that secondary monitor. And then I have browser and Notion and the things that I use, like the games and stuff like that, on a main workspace on the main panel. And then I have a second workspace on that main panel for games. And when I launch a full screen game, it goes to there. And I was able to configure all that stuff using the Neri interface.
And it always popped up the game where it needed to be.
Not at first, but eventually, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was able to get them all launched full screen. And I think I can even make them generic because like Steam apps all launch with the it's like
Borderless
something
window?
Steam app. No, it's like Steam app well, Neri, it just launches them it launches everything in a half wide window by default. And so if you launch a game like that, it's either going to be squinched real weird, or you're just going to see half of the screen in a way that was kind of freaky. But yeah, so I was able to. I think I can make a generic, because it'll match based on a string. So like I think I can put Steam app in the app ID, and it'll just make all the Steam apps automatically go full screen if I want.
Huh.
So anyway,
Interesting.
I got that going for me.
What about navigation? Because you were worried about navigation on not a trackpad based system.
I'm still working on that part.
Okay.
So it's like it's the same. Okay, so it's Windows key and then arrows moves you from window to window on the same workspace.
Which makes sense. Okay.
That totally makes sense. Windows key plus shift moves up. Nope. Windows key plus swipe moves you up and down, and that's mouse wheel in the case of when you're using a mouse wheel.
Okay.
Touchpad.
Well, but you have 2 monitors, so is it moving? If you had 3 scenarios, is it moving each one up?
No. So each one has its own independent pile of workspaces.
Oh, you can't move the bottom pot.
I'm sure you can set it up that way if you want, but I didn't want that, and I'm glad I didn't do that.
Oh, and because you have a ultra wide on the bottom.
No. I have a 4K. It's 4K on the bottom and a 1080p on the top.
Oh, so they're both 16 by 9.
Both 16 by 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the ultra wide is the.
So you theoretically could move them. The scaling would just mess up. Okay.
But I think I like having separate virtual desktops. So what Adam's talking about is with Neri you have each virtual desktop is like an infinite string of windows that are side by side, and you can on a laptop you just hold down the Windows key and you swipe with 3 fingers to switch between those rows of applications.
Yeah, so each row is stacked on top of each other. So if you're already showing 2 rows, I guess I was thinking that it would just move. If you had a third one down, it would just move that second row to the top row.
But I think having the separate sets of things on different things. The other thing I learned is that you can target when you're launching applications. So like you can set what are called window rules in the Neri config file that say, okay, if this app has this app ID, like Firefox, for example, but not this title, like the pip window title, then you say, okay, I want this always to launch on this monitor, not necessarily this workspace. You can target them based on workspace or monitor, whichever you prefer. So, for example, there's no window mirroring there's no monitor mirroring built into Neri by default. So, like when I want to show gameplay video on both my main gaming monitor and my capture card that's hooked to the stream PC at the same time, there's no way to do that.
Oh, at all?
Well, I mean, yeah, no, there's always a way.
Oh, okay.
So I fire up OBS and I make a full screen projector, and I was able to make a rule that identifies that full screen projector window based on the app ID and the title, and always send that full screen projector to the third monitor.
That's actually pretty nice.
Yeah,
okay.
so like it's just like
that's interesting.
It's a little bit fiddly getting started, and I'm like carving off. I'm doing the Valve thing. I'm block and tackling my problems one at a time until eventually I'll just turn the thing on and it just works.
Interesting.
I hope.
Could you theoretically download this? Well, no, you just said it was a config file.
Yeah.
Could you just share this config file online and somebody else could have your setup?
Well, they'd have to have the exact. So the monitor strings, the thing you use to identify the monitors is the manufacturer name, the model number, and the serial number.
Well, but they could still take that config file, change the monitor name out,
and set the resolutions and stuff.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. I'm happy to share. If people want to let me know, I'll post it in the Discord.
And so you didn't take the config from your laptop and put it on the desktop? You started fresh on the desktop?
But I think what I'm going to do, and the thing I realized, once I realized you could address applications to specific workspace names, I think what I'm going to do is take the Windows rules and the declaration of workspaces and make those so that I share those back and forth between the desktop and the laptop. Because then, like, I have a main, I have a chat, I have a games on both on all the devices.
Yeah. Okay.
But the difference is, like, chat shows up on the top monitor on my desktop, and it's just a second workspace on my laptop. So anyway, it's working really well. I'm having a problem actually with Mango Hut and Neri, where there's a weird rainbowy bar down the left side of the screen. I don't think it's impacting performance. It's just unsightly. So I gotta figure that out too. That's next. That's where I got last night before I ran out of time. But Neri on the desktop is quite nice. I'm still, when I panic, I kind of don't remember how to get, like, there's different hotkeys for moving things up a workspace or moving up a monitor. And because the desktop knows whether the monitors are left, like it knows the relationship in terms of spatial relationship of the displays. So if I send something one monitor to the right, it's going to show up on the capture card on the stream machine, or if I send it up, it's going to go up above. And it's like Windows Control Shift to go up a workspace, and Windows Alt Shift or something to go. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But it's. Well, I'm building muscle memory.
It makes me think of when I first started video editing. I got one of those keyboards that had the shortcuts printed on the keycaps because I like that. It was an easy, quick little thing. Yeah. Like it makes me think you should just like put little sticky notes on each of your keys to be like, oh, this is the modifier, like a little cheat sheet.
It's the hardest part is that I mean, and I think if I used, because you could also do Windows Control and then a number, and that'll send it to a specific workspace or display.
Okay.
But like, I'm trying to do it the relational way because I feel like that's probably stickier for my brain.
What happens if you alt tab? Can you alt tab through things? No,
you can.
It doesn't exist.
You can Windows tab to switch between workspaces, or you can get the overview with 4-finger swipe up.
But there's no way to say, just alt tab quickly to Slack.
Well, I mean, I can do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Or you can always just type Slack.
Hit the super and space
right there.
bar,
yeah.
and it'll Interesting.
Yeah. The Alt O is the overview keyboard shortcut. I don't know why it's not Alt Windows Tab. I guess Super Tab switches you between workspaces on whichever display you're on. That's actually a good one. I didn't know that. I just discovered that just now. But these are also, all those keyboard shortcuts are also configured in that near config file. So you can change those if you want to.
Oh, so you could just
I can make Alt Tab be whatever I want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, so that stuff's all been pretty good.
Nice.
Figuring out the difference between like maximized and full screen in the near config file has been interesting. That near config, the documentation for that stuff is really, really good though. Like they have a good on the Neri wiki, they have a good explanation of what everything does and how you activate it and how you interact with it, which has been quite nice.
Nice.
And then the last thing.
Well, real quick.
Oh yeah.
Do you miss KDE?
I'm going to go and tell you the reason I decided to go ahead and jump and do the switch is because getting the keyboard shortcuts working for Bitfocus Companion and KDE and Wayland and Mango HUD so that I could trigger video capture plus Mango HUD capture at the same time was such an enormous pain in the butt because of the way KDE handles keyboard shortcuts at a system level.
Oh.
Like KDE is great if you're in the application is focused.
Okay.
But if you want to set up a keyboard shortcut that goes to an application that's not in focus, like Mango HUD in this case, seems to be impossible.
Wow.
I mean,
I'm sure something's possible.
There's a way to do it. I was like, I'm going to spend all this time and then I'm just going to trash this in like a week and a half and switch to Neri. I'm just going to go and figure this out in Neri. And also I was able to figure out with Neri, I was having trouble getting Bitfocus Companion to do a basic piece of Bitfocus. For folks who haven't been listening for a long time, Bitfocus Companion is the Linux equivalent of the Stream Deck software, the Elgato button pad thing that you use to like. I have a macro programmed in on Windows that I press and it starts recording in OBS, and then 30 seconds later it starts capturing a frame view a capture, and then it stops record. It lasts for 60 seconds, and then it stops the recording 90 seconds after that. So you get 30 seconds of video footage, 60 seconds of capture, and 30 seconds of video footage on the out, which gives me some sides
handles,
so I can edit down.
Cool.
Getting those keyboard shortcuts to work on Linux was challenging until I found out that there's a piece of software which I didn't write down here, unfortunately. I think it's called there's a Wayland one and there's an X11 one, and it's basically a debug tool that you can use to send keyboard commands into X11 or Wayland, and that will trigger. It seems like that will trigger the Mango HUD.
It's a debug tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably don't want to rely on that, don't you?
No, it's fine.
No, okay. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
W
well, it
keys
doesn't
or
matter.
something. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Now you're on Neri.
Well, but I have to use that Wayland one for Neri too, because Wayland.
Got it.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay.
So that's all good. I also tested a bunch of capture cards for a video that'll be up on PCWorld at some point. And the thing I'll say is older AverMedia PCI Express cards seem to just be USB cards with a PCI Express interface in them.
Okay.
And they just work.
Nice.
So like an Evermeteor
Seems like a good thing.
Live Gamer 4K, fine. The newer one is a little hinkier, and I can't tell if it's a firmware issue or a BIOS issue or what. It worked some, and then sometimes it didn't work, and I don't know why. So
like it wouldn't even be seen sometimes, or
it wouldn't show up on LSUSB or LSPCI, which list all the USB and or PCI devices in your machine. I also no space. And then the other thing is the USB ones worked great, except, and we'll talk about this on that video, the USB ones, even though they worked 4K at higher frame rates on Windows, seem to be capped at 4K 30 frames per second on Linux, and I don't know why that is. I wonder if it's a problem with the USB implementation on this laptop or my test machine.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Nice. Well, yeah.
That was a lot.
You have been working on a lot. Should I start a counter till how long you're going to switch away from Neri on your desktop?
I don't think so. I think I'm probably pretty in.
Really?
Then I'm gonna go and tell you, the Neri speaks to me in a way that the computer interface hasn't in a long time.
Should I try it?
No.
Why?
You're not ready for that.
Look, I'm still using Windows.
You can install Neri and run it in a shell right there. You can have Neri right now. Run it inside your Cinnamon or whatever this business is.
No, this is
it really makes me
GNOME.
nervous when you click into that Audacity window, just for the record.
It's working fine.
But you're one space bar tap away from pausing the recording.
It's fine. I don't hit my space bar. When would I hit my space bar?
I'm just saying it's scary. Do you want to talk about homework? Should we talk about homework for next week?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I like my homework is essentially what we had talked about 2 weeks ago, where I want to move the same configuration on this system to another system.
You're going to move it to the 16?
No, to the framework desktop.
Oh, okay.
To be able to be like, oh, hey, listen, I'm trying to set things up the same way on both systems with Fedora, Workstation Edition, or we talked about that home thing where maybe I'm just using the home folder on an external drive and I'm plugging in. I don't know.
I bet you can do a hook. I bet you what you need is a hook. I bet you can do a hook that copies your home folder onto that external drive every time you shut down and copies it off of that external drive into your real home folder when you boot up. I bet you put that system hook on both machines. And then it just works.
Is that making it more complicated than it needs to be?
I mean, look, what's complicated, really?
Well, speaking of shutting down, something we talked about right before we were recording here is that something I've never brought up is that if I have Windows open, if I have applications running and I just go ahead and reboot the system or shut it down for whatever reason, when I go back to relaunch Chrome, it says, nah, your last session did not restore. Do you want to hit the restore button? I usually do. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. But if I close Chrome before I reboot or shut down, then it comes, when I open it up again, when I'm back in, it just boots normally. And we were trying to figure out why that would happen, because you have that same problem even on Firefox.
Exact same thing on Firefox. And I think it's because, well, hold on, it says open previous windows and tabs.
No, that's
that wasn't
different.
checked. I think it's because when it shuts down, when you shut down the system, I think it's like not shutting down properly. I think
it's not closing each application.
It's the equivalent.
It's yanking the USB drive out.
Yeah, like Windows, when you shut down Windows, it closes all the applications. When I shut down this Linux machine, it's just like, yo, we're going to shut down in 9 seconds, and then it shuts down. And I don't think it's telling any of the applications that they need to shut down. So I'm going to try.
Which for the most part, it usually doesn't matter. Like Discord, Slack, whatever.
You say that.
I don't.
OBS hates to be shut down, forced shut down.
Well, I mean, anything work related, I wouldn't just,
I'm going to reboot
Audacity, I'm going to save and close it.
I'm trying.
After this. But yeah, like Chrome is the only one that I notice it in. And I'm just like, it's not a hard problem. You just hit the, restart the session kind of thing. But yeah, I would just, maybe people out there know
Here's
why.
my homework.
Yeah.
I'm figuring it out right now. I'm doing a live test.
Okay.
Always be testing.
Always be testing. Yeah.
I was going to say, when I did the reinstall, I was sitting there. I got to the, hey, which boot manager do you want? And I was like, I really like Snapper support. And it was a real pain in the butt to set this up before. And I just went with Grub.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because also I don't really boot anything on this computer.
Well, your desktop, you don't have Windows?
This doesn't have the desktop.
Oh,
has
this
Windows.
one. Oh, okay. Yeah.
On the, I'm talking about this one has Refined on it still because I'm not going to switch because it's all set up and working. But on the Windows desktop machine is Grub, and it sucks because there's no mouse.
Yeah.
It's kind of slow loading. It looks like it's running at like 4 frames a second. It looks like ancient software.
Well, but as we talked
it
about,
works.
Refined is where that would make sense, though.
Yeah, I know, but then I have to reconfigure all the snapper stuff for
yeah.
Refined, which was kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Okay, it restored automatically when I closed the browser. Before I
Oh, so
rebooted.
you must, like, I have that checked in Chrome. Like mine literally just pops up a new window and says, "Hey, your last session didn't restore."
Yeah, mine usually does. So I bet if I reboot now, it's going to do that. I'm not going to do it this time. I'm not going to do it again. But
Okay.
okay, so I still have that 25H2 install pending
On your desktop.
on my desktop
Why are you not doing it yet?
because I'm afraid it's going to mess up everything that's just now starting to work again.
Try it, man. Well, especially now that you're not doing the Refined stuff.
People aren't saying nice things about 25H2.
People are not saying nice things about Windows.
I know
in general. So,
but especially 25H2, they're like, wow, they somehow made it even worse.
I don't know, man. It just seems still
It's just bad.
normal bad.
Okay.
I haven't noticed anything different. Like I had it downloaded. The first place I downloaded it was my ROG Ally X or Xbox Ally X to do the full screen testing stuff. I have updated it on my other systems, but I haven't really noticed anything that different.
Well, I'll give it a try.
At least for what I do.
And then the Stream Machine. I was looking at the Stream Machine again now that I understand how Bitfocus Companion works, and I took the time to learn. Part of the getting the Mango HUD benchmarking stuff going was learning how to build out a step-by-step action chain, and that's repeatable and works well, and that I can trigger with the pedal. So it's pretty good.
So you think you can have an all Linux Stream Machine?
I think the Linux machine. I think the Stream Machine probably is a really good candidate to be all Linux. Yeah.
That'd be a fun project.
Yeah, because like the bot that I use to control the stream it runs in Windows or Linux. OBS, obviously. OBS is quite different actually between Windows and Linux because it uses completely different interfaces to like capture screens and capture audio and stuff like that.
Which makes sense. Yeah.
Like I don't think there's an ASIO driver on Linux for anything because I think that's all proprietary. Yeah, so I think that's totally capable, totally doable, if I get the right capture card for it. So I'm at some point I'm going to pop the SSD out and put a freshie in and try that.
Speaking of recording and capturing stuff, I do want to address a couple questions. If you have a question, you can get into our fine Discord called The Full Nerd. There's a link in the description, and further down the page there's a DBD-questions section.
DBD is short for Dual Boot Diaries.
Dual Boot Diaries.
Very good.
Get your questions in there. Somebody had asked me, RK Harris 62.
Shout out
Thank
to
you.
RK.
Yeah. Said, I'd love to hear about your details of your Linux recording setup. You're using Audacity, right? Are you using third-party VSTs? If so, are there any OS level compatibility issues you're concerned about? Yeah, I'm recording once again. This episode is the audio portion is being recorded on this Framework 13 laptop, Audacity with a Motu M6 ADC, and I don't have any compressors. Like I do own VSTs, most of them through Waves. Like I love the Waves SSL collection. Like I if I can only have one plugin, the Waves SSL collection is the one I go to for audio stuff. Anyway, I'm not using it during capture because for the most part we sweeten it in post. So like we're just recording straight audio here. So I haven't tried that out. Would I try that out? I mean, I guess I would actually no. I don't think I would even for content because if that messed up, then we're talking about losing the episode and we'd have to re-record, if something went wrong. But
so my philosophy on a pre-recorded show like this one is that you record vanilla audio and then you do all the fixing in post.
Yeah.
Right. The VSTs you'd use more if you were doing like live mixing or we were sending it out to OBS to go to YouTube or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think where it could come into play is that on my home setup, when I finally get it comfortable and around to installing or using Linux on my desktop setup at home, Right now, I have my Shure SM7B plugged into the Elgato. What is it? It's the Stream Deck Plus.
Oh yeah,
it's the Stream Deck Plus with the XLR mic.
Yeah,
base
that
attachment thing
work
or whatever.
with VSTs, right?
Well, and then I use Wavelink to insert the VST in line.
Got it.
So it does in Windows. So like I could see myself like doing the compression there at that level, not in Audacity. And also, I'm not married to Audacity. Where I'm just using it because it's super simple to use. So I'm curious about this. I am curious about this, especially Waves. I actually don't even know if Waves has Linux support because they do all their installation and management through a third party their app.
Yeah,
they have an app, because it's a licensing thing. They used to have like iLock keys and stuff like that. So whatever. I mean, it might be a moot point anyway. But yeah, no, it was a good question. And right now, it's not that deep or complicated because once again, we like to keep it simple just to make sure it's recorded and done, and then we do any sort of sweetening in post.
Why I'm not able to search right now? That's weird.
Perfect. Linux, it just works.
Yeah, Linux.
Love it.
It's like OS 10, but workier.
Yeah. Couple more questions. We have RK Harris also asked a question. I'd like to keep an eye out for a good deal on a laptop during Black Friday to futz around with on Linux. Hey, they're using futz. I like that. Good job. Always be futzing.
RK Harris, familiar name. From
how would you begin shopping for that? Is there a particular model, CPU, or other spec you would start with? I know about System 76s of the world, but I'm more thinking of watching for deals for mass market brands you'd find at like a Best Buy. So number one, I would say if you go to PCWorld.com, we have a best of list for best laptops, but we do no Linux testing. It's something that maybe I should try to push Brad to include, but he probably is not going to, because we have a lot of people testing these laptops, including freelancers, and everyone has to be doing the same suite. So to change that process actually takes a big deal. Like they've been meaning to update the benchmark suite for a while. They just haven't got around to it. So I think you could generally look at our advice for laptops. Will it work in Linux? That's the other question.
Well, so the way you find that out traditionally is because it also varies based on distro, right? If you're buying a SKU that has a Linux version, like if you go to the Dell website or whatever, or HP website, and you see that they sell this with Ubuntu on it, then it's fairly safe to assume that you can run that Best Buy laptop with Ubuntu, but it'll be the specific version of Ubuntu, right? So like, for example, this Dell XPS it's an XPS 13 that I have in front of me. I think it's a 9350 2024 edition, has an Ubuntu SKU. So you can go and download the OEM version of Ubuntu for this laptop, install it, and everything just works. If you don't want to run Ubuntu, that's not going to help you. So then what you do is go look to the wiki for your distro. So the Arch wiki has a big hardware compatibility section. I assume that the other distros have something similar. And you can also assume that, like, for example, if you're using an Arch derivative like Manjaro or Cachy, you can assume that stuff will flow downstream. And if it works in Arch, it'll work on the downstream distros. Same thing for like Ubuntu to or Fedora, Red Hat to the Fedora distros and stuff like that, or other way around, I guess. But yeah, so you have to do a little bit more homework if you want to make sure you have Linux compatibility. Also, if you don't care if stuff like the camera and fingerprint sensor work, you're probably fine at this point.
Yeah. Also, I think if you're not able to find the exact model, like another maybe easier rule of thumb is to be like, well, don't buy the brand newest generation, maybe a generation or two back hardware-wise.
Yeah, especially if you're looking for deals.
Yeah, the chances of like, oh, I got a Meteor Lake-based Intel laptop. Okay, Meteor Lake's been out for a couple years.
Yeah,
that laptop, hopefully, all the stuff in there has been committed to the kernel, and it just is like rolled up into the main distro at this point. So it's not a one-to-one. It's not a perfect scenario, but typically something that's been out for a little bit longer is probably going to have better compatibility than something that is brand spanking new.
The thing I'll say, looking like some brands are better. I got to say, I've tried a couple of different Asus laptops and had pretty good luck with all of them, although I did have the hinge fail on the S14. There's a couple of other good Linux compatibility websites. I didn't realize we were going to take this question, or I would have looked them up. But
sorry.
No, it's okay. Just do a little bit of homework. The things that typically won't work are camera, fingerprint sensor, maybe sound. I feel like trackpad and keyboard and the kind of main stuff you need to use a computer are all pretty reliable at this point.
Yeah, so if you search for Amazon best-selling laptops, you can actually find a page that shows the Amazon bestsellers. So I'm looking through right now. Obviously, it's not Black Friday yet. So deals is kind of a separate discussion. Actually, we do track a lot of deals on PCWorld, so
it's a lot of MacBooks.
Check that. Yeah, so you got MacBooks. A lot of the top ones are HP and Dell. I'm surprised we haven't seen a Lenovo yet. Acer is number 14.
I think the Lenovo's maybe too expensive to be on this page.
Oh, there's a Lenovo IdeaPad.
It's Chromebook,
though. That is Chromebook. Yeah. So I would say another generality. Like I'm speaking in general here. I would say usually the bigger OEMs, the Dells, HP, and Lenovo's, probably have more support because it is just a bigger. They sell way more. They sell the most breadth of laptops versus a smaller OEM like an Asus, Acer, Gigabyte, something like that. So maybe that's another rule of thumb to help kind of, Yeah.
The other thing, I was looking at Phoronix, and they do. They do benchmarks for different laptops. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of coverage of the people you would expect, stuff like the HP ZBook, the framework stuff, the System 76. But they occasionally will do a roundup with a whole bunch of like mass market laptops, and I'm not finding one recently here. But anyway, so
or he'll look at processors as it comes out, and then so that's maybe another good way to be like, oh, look up AMD Ryzen AI 300 series reviews, because usually those reviews are, those reviews are in a laptop. So even like Gordon, back when he would review a CPU in a laptop, and it didn't matter the laptop, he was reviewing the CPU, but you can glean stuff off of that as well.
Yeah.
So
like there's a thing here about Asus S series, S16 series laptops. So you can find, here's a Ryzen Lenovo laptop performance guide for different parts, and like you can find stuff here. I would say, generally speaking, you'll probably have easier support with drivers and stuff with an AMD APU than an Intel machine.
That's the other rule of thumb, or not rule of thumb, but a shorthand to be like, when in doubt, AMD is probably better supported.
That said, I've had no problem running. I've even played a couple of games on this Intel laptop.
Intel,
so it's fine.
Yeah. And your Asus one was Intel as
both,
well, right?
I've been on Lunar Lake for both. Yeah, those will be expensive though.
Oh, actually, I have used Intel. That ThinkPad, Lenovo ThinkPad I was using was Meteor Lake based. Yeah, with an NVIDIA GPU in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So who knows? Yeah. Anyway, good luck. Check PCWorld.com. Sorry, plug. But let's wrap it up today. This has gone long. Because there was a lot to talk about. Check back next week for your fix of Linux talk here on Dual Boot Diaries. If you want to listen to us on the go, we're hopefully anywhere you can find an RSS feed.
If we're not, let us know. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
I can get us on any service. You want us on? You got You've
got a guy.
You got a podcast service in Tibet that we're not on. Give me a call.
Tibet.
I don't know, man.
Listen to a lot of podcasts in Tibet?
Look, I assume.
Okay, perfect. Great. Also, if you're listening to this from Tibet, please leave a comment on the YouTube
gentle
channel.
Majesty of the Himalayas and talking about some open source.
Also, some people might not know this, but we do actually have a video version of this over on YouTube. Search for the Full Nerd Network. We have a playlist called Dual Boot Diaries on there that you can see our pretty faces if you're interested.
Next week, I'm just going to stare at the camera the whole time. We're just going to make eye contact the entire podcast.
Yeah, boom. And also, if you're into it, you can subscribe to the Full Nerd Podcast, which is about us sitting around talking about DIY desktop PC topics.
PC enthusiast.
Very hardware focused, but lately we have been talking about Linux a lot because
2025,
or maybe 2026. Maybe with this Steam stuff. 2026 is the year of Linux.
I think in my heart, 2025 is always going to be the year of Linux.
Adam. Same for me.
We still have another month and a half.
Yeah.
Anything could happen.
Also, I actually have an idea for an end of year episode.
Oh.
So let's yeah. If you have any ideas, let us know.
We call it the Tuxies?
No, we're not awarding awards to our favorite Linux
I think we should give
distros.
our favorite Linux software awards.
Or maybe we do a tier ranking.
Oh,
Just
distro tier ranking. Yeah, there we go.
Ranked distros we've never even used.
That's our April Fool's episode, actually.
April Fools.
Yeah,
Perfect.
people love
Anyway,
that.
bye-bye.